I'm Chad Bowman.
Kyle.
What do you guys study?
We're both actually in environmental business.
What we do is we put water in it, we balance the pH, where our plants like it between 5.5 and 6. So that's where they thrive at, and if it's higher or lower, then they don't grow as well. So once we balance the pH, we put nutrients in it, like phosphorus, nitrogen.
I considered hydroponics as something that I could be interested in, and the Waterloo Environment Student Endowment Fund has $100,000 that is available to students who have initiatives that will add to the student experience. So I had applied for that for this rack that is behind us.
So the system, we fill up this reservoir down here with water. It's a nutrient mixture. It's a little bit of nutrients and some water. And then we have our water pump down here, which sucks the water from the reservoir all the way up to the top here, which distributes the water into each tower through these little nozzles and a hose. And then the water runs down through the tower, which aerates the water because it hits the material, and as it falls, oxygen enters the water. So it aerates it, and then it evenly distributes down through the tower, hits all the plant roots, and then back down to the reservoir. So it's just a continuous cycle of water. And then the only water loss we get is through the plant's absorption or through evaporation. I'd say the advantages of hydroponics is the amount of space that you can save with growing this way, while also the amount of water you can save, because it's 90% less water is used in a hydroponic system compared to a traditional farm. And also there's no fertilizer runoff, which you normally get from a traditional soil farm. So by being able to contain everything into one system and control where the water is being disposed of, it makes the whole growing process more sustainable. The disadvantages though come on the energy side, where right now there's not much technology where you can reduce your footprint on the electrical side, because there's a lot of lighting required and pumps and other things. So that's where the innovations are going to be in the future, but right now that's the biggest downfall.
We have been in communication with St. Jerome's University College to supply the herbs and greens that we grow here.
We would like to expand it here on campus a little bit so we can keep supplying the on-campus cafeterias, so we can start building a sustainable food system right here on campus. So abandoned buildings or even parking lot garages right now are being converted into hydroponic farms to save on space. But there is still limitations to what can be grown right now. So I think a lot of food would be still like herbs, greens, and that stuff being grown within cities. But then there'll still be need for those outside farms for growing other foods. But yeah, overall I think cities are going to start incorporating these farms within their city centers, which will allow for more local fresh food.
And it's hard to know when the season will begin anymore. Especially with it starting to warm up a lot. So with hydroponics, we're able to control every aspect of the growing condition of the plants.
This should come on both ends, where you start doing a little more research of what your food is actually, the impact of your food is actually doing on our environment. Food that's traveling so far is even less nutritious, so people should start being more aware of that, and that comes from both sides. Of the consumer and the producer should be responsible for sharing that information.
Here at UW, that is a goal that we have, is to close the gap in between the consumer and the producer, and then have that education aspect.
Environment of these plants, so we maximize their growing potential.
There are a lot of students who are interested in agriculture, but they just didn't have something tangible to work with. So that is the purpose of this education rack, is to have a piece where students can explore this interest.
What's your favorite vegetable that you're growing behind you?
I just like the butter crunch lettuce. I like the way the leaves look, and it's just not like other lettuces. It's a cool plant.
My favorite is the rosemary. It was the only one that germinated.
Sweet, it's your baby. That's
yeah,
cool.
That's it. I think it's so important to have an idea of how our food is grown, the type of nutrients that we are feeding our bodies, and the best way to do that is to get to know the people who grow the food that we eat. Because it's one thing for us to have a perspective from the city, and it's a whole different one from their perspective.
Especially if we support a local market. Like Waterloo's like the fastest growing population I think in Canada right now. So like with this increasing population, how is our local farmers planning on to supply local food for this?